Hello and welcome back, and today we're going to be solving Nameless, which when you look at this particular thumbnail doesn't necessarily strike you as a German whisper puzzle, but that's exactly what we have in store, and hopefully that will be fairly obvious as soon as I actually bring it up on the grid, which unfortunately you can't see because that's where my head is at. But as soon as you see the grid, you're going to see that it almost draws like a glyph on top of the screen. And actually, let's just bring it up and take a look at the rules. Let's do that. So we're looking at Nameless by PSNINN. That's how I'm going to pronounce this. I'll walk you through the rules quickly, and then I'm going to try and sort of share what my thoughts are with this glyph, and then come back to it, and then get started with the solve. So fill the numbers 1 to 9 in each row, column, and box. I guess that's normal Sudoku rules, so place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. That's a 3x3 box, not what I was trying to draw earlier. Then we have the German whisper line. The difference between two adjacent numbers on the green line is at least 5. So if that's a 2, for example, these cells have to be 7, 8, or 9, because they have to be 5 or more away. If that happens to be 7, this would have to be 1, because we've already used the 2, but it has to be 5 or more away. And you end up with this pattern, which is low digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, high digits, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then repeated, oscillating between the two polarities. The sum of the numbers separated by a V is 5. So down here, for example, you can see that if this is a 2, this would have to be 3, because these two cells have to add up to 5. It doesn't say anything about negative constraints, so I'm going to assume that there is nothing wrong, for example, with this one having a 4 next to it and these two cells adding up to 5. I'm going to assume negative constraints do not apply. Lastly, we have the ratio of numbers separated by a black dot, such as this one, is in a ratio of 1 to 2. So if that's a 2, that could be a 1. It could, of course, be also a 4. As long as one cell is double the other, you're absolutely fine. Now, what I'm going to also assume here is that no negative constraints apply. So if this is a 3 and this is a 6, for example, as in they are in a 2 to 1 ratio and there is no black dot in between them, that's going to be absolutely fine. So that's all the rules. So just quickly about this. So back in, I'm going to say early 2000s, there was a Chinese movie with Jet Li essentially as the main character called Hero. And essentially the main character in the puzzle, his name, sorry, not in the puzzle, in the movie, his name was essentially Nameless. He wasn't named. And I could have sworn that this particular glyph was in there. It's not a Chinese character, that one I recognize. And certainly when I looked at the movie poster again as a reminder, that is not anywhere on the poster. But anyway, that's why the thumbnail is there. As usual, if you want to play along, if you want to uncover the name behind this grid, link will be in the description down below as usual for you to play along. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock, see how I get on. So one thing that I usually do with German whisper lines, as many of you know, that I tend to color it blue and red. Blue being low digits, 1, 2, 3, 4. Red being high digits. And because we know that the German whisper line oscillates between the two, what I'm going to take a moment to do now is just color all of these. I don't know what they are. They are purple, and all the numbers in between, they are orange. And we already have a pretty good idea about what's going on here. So if you take a look at column 2, for example, I've already placed 4 purples. So if purple was a low digit, that's clearly not going to work because I'm going to end up with 5 low digits in here. So purple is actually a high digit, orange is actually a low digit, and we know the direction of this. I can, of course, place a digit in here in under 1 minute. That's the 5. Just take a look at column 2. One thing I didn't mention when I was explaining the rules, that 5 can never be anywhere on a German whisper line, because 5 or more away would be 0 or 10, neither of which is allowed under normal Sudoku rules. So that can't be 4, that can't be 4. Whenever you're thinking about German whisper lines, always worthwhile thinking about 4s and 6s. If that's a 4, For it to be 5 or more away, these would both have to be 9. And of course, that breaks normal Sudoku rules. So the only place for a 4 in column 2 is down here. 4, 1. These are from 2 3s. This needs to be reasonably high to be able to actually be adjacent to the 3. So that's 8 or 9. Only place for a 6, mind you, is in here. So we thought about the 4. The next one to think about is the 6. The 6 requires a 1 next to it. And anywhere else, if I placed a 6, that would have required 2 1s. So that's 6, that's 1, and that's another 2, 3. That means, because this is definitely, one of them is at least a 3. So that's once again restricted to 8 or 9. And therefore, this is the only place for a 7, which means this is a 2, that's a 3, that's a 2. That is, well, it can be either 8 or 9, so I'm not going to actually commit to anything just yet. Right, what else can we do in here? So, other temptation now is just to do the same oscillating colors for this remaining German whisper line. We'll go with purple and orange again and see if that actually allows us to conclude anything. We can, of course, place another digit in the center. I just noticed that that's the only cell in box 5 that doesn't have a German whisper line. So that's another 5 that can be placed as well. I'm just having a look and thinking about, do we have it? So, okay, column 8, I don't know why I didn't spot this in just now. Where does 5 go in column 8? Well, it's not here, because 5 can never be on a black Kropke dot. Again, 1 to 2 ratio is either 2.5 or 10. That doesn't work, and this is a 5, of course, eliminating it. Only place for a 5 is down here. Now, we know that there's going to be 4 purples, which we already placed, 4 oranges, which we haven't fully placed, so that's orange, whatever orange is in terms of polarity. Now let's think about 4s and 6s. So for purple, the only place that it could be a 4 or 6, because that has 2 adjacent digits, that has 2, well, I mean, it has a 3, but 2 that have to be unique, and again, 2 that have to be unique. So the only place that can be 4 or 6 is in here, with a 1 or 9 next to it. For orange, that is clearly no longer 4 or 6. That isn't. That's the only place for 4 or 6. If it's a 6, that would be 3. If it's a 4, that would be 2 or 8. We'll figure that out in a moment. Unfortunately, that's not quite enough for me to figure out. It's not enough to determine which one is blue and which one is red. This can be 6. This could be double 1. This can be 6. This could be double 1. So, and either of these can be 4 with just a single 9 next to it. So it's not working in box 5. It's probably something that I'm missing that would allow us to progress from here. So I just need to spot it. This, for example, can't be a 4. This is 1 or 3. This is clearly 7, 8, or 9. This is 7, 8, or 9. It can't be a 6, because again, it would require a double 1. This is not a 4, it would require a double 9. It's also not a 3, this is 1 or 2. So I'm really not sure where to go next. I'm just going to check rows and columns, see if there's anything obvious. I mean, you can see that if purple is red, it places a tremendous amount of pressure. In this column, in this column, in this column, in this row, in this row, and in this row. Essentially, we'd have placed all the, and this row as well. So we'd have placed all the high digits, basically. And that feels very restricted. Bit of logic. Where does 5 go in box 8? It can only be in here. Where does 5 go in box 7? It can only be there. It can only be here now in box 4. one of two places in box 6. Only here in box 2, only there in box 3, and therefore only here. No, wrong color. That's the right color. And that's all the 5s placed. Not that it's helping me with what I need to do, but progress. So maybe the way to think about this is we placed all the low digits in here. So all the rest are high. Does that help me? Not yet. I'm sure there is something that's going to break if you make an assumption whether purple is blue or red. I just need to spot it, and for whatever reason, I am not seeing it. You can see that 6 is definitely in here, because in fact 4 and 6 are both there. So that's interesting. Which also means this is a 4. That's not a 4. Doesn't exactly help me. That could be a 4. That's not 4, not 2. This is 1 or 3. There's another 1 or 2 in here. Okay. Right. It's got to be the black Kropke dot. That's basically the only thing I haven't really thought about that much. So let's think about it. My options are it's the same color, which would be 4, 2, and this would be orange, and then everything else would be purple. Or the other option is it's purple, and I still need to place another orange. Now, what does that mean in general? Maybe let's think about where can 4 go in here. The problem is 4 is still available. I can place it anywhere. 6 is down here. That's not a 6. That's a 6. Doesn't exactly help. 4 is not here. 4 is not there. So one of these two cells is 4. It's been long enough. It's 10 minutes. So I'm sure many of you have already spotted this, and I'm just missing it. And I imagine that this will be a little bit painful for you guys to watch and see what I'm trying to spot. And you already have, but I'm just, wow, this is tough. So we have the 4 6s identified. That's the challenge in column 8. I think I just need to maybe think about row 2. Or again, back to the black Kropke dot. I haven't really tried to use it in anger. Sorry, I'm just kind of looking around, retrotting old ground and not making a huge amount of progress. There's Not necessarily used for no 4, no 4, no 4, no 4, no 4. 4 is in one of two cells. Sleuth, 3 blues. When I placed that 4, that did it. Orange can't be blue, otherwise we'd end up with 5 blues. That's what I'm sure many of you have been screaming about. Orange is red, purple is blue, and we can finally make some progress. That means that's a 6, that's a 3, that is actually blue, and we can make real progress now. That's 4, that's got to be 9. Next, so I'm just thinking about where is 3, because the 3 would have to have an 8 and a 9 next to it, and because these can't be 9, and this can't be 3, that's 8. These are 1, 2s. I think they could be either, really. One of these is a 3, meaning that this is 8 or 9. That's a 1 now. That's not 1, 3, or 4, it's a 2. This is a 7. This can't be a 6, and it's not a 7, and it's not an 8. That's a 9. And it's quite surprising, actually. That's not a 9. See, I can still have a 4 with a double 9. The difficulty of this is not easing off, is it? That's a 9. That's not 9 or 6 or 7. That's an 8. Which makes that a 9. Which makes this, it doesn't have to be. I could still have a 3 here with an 8 there. So that doesn't actually help me resolve it. Wow. This is 1-star difficulty, but I don't know if I'm just making it seem way harder than it really is. Always a possibility. Always a possibility. One of these is a 7, making this not a 3. That's a 1. That's a 2. Either still can be a 7. Interesting. Which makes this a 6 with a 3. And the 3 in here tells me the order. That's a 3, that's a 6, 4. Maybe I do need to pencil mark a bit more. I am almost certainly going to. I think I can already read John's advice saying this would have gone faster if he pencil marked a little bit. So a bit more than you would normally. So I will do that. That can't be a 6 and it can't be 7, 9. That is an 8. And of course, either can still be a 3. That is not 7 or 9. It can be a 6 with a 1, but it can also be an 8. Which days make this 1, 2, or 3. It's not a 2 though. 1 or 3. One of these is a 4. Which makes the 9 in one of these two spots. And this is now at least a 7, but not a 9. I have to reserve that for the 4, which is in one of two places. So we know we have a 7 in here. So this is 3, 6, 8, 9. With a definite 3 as well. There is a second 8, 9. Well, it's not a 9. So the 9 has to be in here. That's not an 8. And this is going to be for the... Oh, hang on. Bad conclusion. That can still be a 9. I have a 1 up here with 7 or 8. Definite 1, not an 8. So that means there is a 7 or 8 down here with a definite 2. Interesting. Notice the only thing that I haven't... Oh, hang on. So the 6 is in here. This is 7, 8, or 9. It can be anything, really. Come on. I should be a bit smarter than this. What's going on? This is a very tricky puzzle suddenly. 6 not in here. That's the 6. I'm just maybe not. I can be quite rusty when it comes to classic Sudoku, because this can be a 6 and this can be a 6. I can't actually place the 6 in here. I can place it here though, just Sudoku. So I'm going to just go around, and of course it doesn't help me with my 1-3, but at least I remove a 6 out of the picture. Which means the only place for a 6 now is this cell. And therefore this is a 1, that is a 4, that is a 9, that is a 3. That's not the 3, that's the 3. That's 1 or 2, it's not a 1. Finally, we're making progress now. 1, 2. Early celebration, maybe a bit too early. That's a 9. This is a 3-6 pair. In fact, I know the order. That's not a 6. That's the 6. That's the 3. That's the 7, I'm going to say. This is a 4-7 combo. This is a, well, I need a 1 that can only be in here, and a 4 that can only be there. This is surely resolved. This is not 8, not 9, it's a 7. And this is a 7 as well. This is an 8, that's a 9. That's 7, 8, in fact. No, not resolved. 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. And then the 1, 7, 8 still unknown. We do need in here a 2, 4. That's the 4, that's the 2. Doesn't help me with my, that's not a 2. I do need a 1 in this column, so that's the 1. That's, I am typing, that is the 1. That's not the 1, that's the 7, 8. That's the other 7, 8, that's the 2. Have I not? Yeah, so what can go in this column? I've got to place a 7. That gives me 8, 7, 8. No 8s. In here I need a 1, which can only be there. A 4 and a 7. That 7 gives me an order. That's a 7, that's a 4. This is known. That's a 6, 7, 6. Right, we're on the finish for this now. That's clearly an 8 now. That's the 9. I need 3 and 4. Not resolved yet. In here I need 2 and 3. Is resolved because of that 2, which will help me immensely now. 3, 2, 4, 3, 4, 7. And in here we need an 8 and a 9. That's the 8. And if I've not made any mistakes, that's the 9 for the finish. So I think I still struggle when it comes to puzzles that require the constant use of classic Sudoku and the constant use of the variant, as demonstrated very well today. But 19 minutes certainly could be faster. Looking forward to your comments about how quickly you guys do this. Hope that you enjoyed the puzzle. I certainly did, even if I made a bit of a mess of it. But see you back for the next one. And yeah, clearly very much about German whispers. We do have an immense number of German whisper lines on this channel. See what YouTube's going to recommend to you next. Bye-bye for now.